Welcome to yet again another installment of Video Game Battle, the series where I take two games, compare them to each other in separate categories, and decide at the end which I think is the better game. So tonight's competitors are Daxter versus Secret Agent Clank. What we have here are Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank spin-offs that were not made by Naughty Dog or Insomniac Games and were PSP exclusives after Naughty Dog and Insomniac Games went to the PlayStation 3 to work on Uncharted and Resistance. Two companies called High Impact Games and Ready at Dawn bought the rights to the Jak and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank franchises. Thankfully, the companies were formed by former members of Naughty Dog and Insomniac Games, and that's why these two games didn't turn out to be disappointments after all. Now, both these games do have their fair share of differences in terms of gameplay, but still have their fair share of similarities. Now let's compare and contrast to these games and see which one is better, first beginning with the story. Both games do have similar stories. Daxter takes place between the events of Jak and Daxter the Precursor Legacy and Jak 2, after when Jak and the gang found a time rift machine at the end of the first game. They activate it, which takes them far in the future in a city called Haven City. Jak is captured by the Crimson Guards, but Daxter manages to escape. 2 years later, he is later seen telling stories in the bar, and becomes hired by an old exterminator called Osmo, who helps him on his mission to rescue Jak as long as he helps Osmo do some exterminating. Secret Agent Clank has his alter ego of the same name, investigating the Baltier Museum to stop a thief from stealing a priceless artifact known as the Eye of Infinity. The thief, as a surprise, turns out to be Ratchet, who is caught by security and arrested. Clank still feels that Ratchet is innocent, but is forced to continue his mission and help prove Ratchet's innocence. Okay, these games do have very similar stories, but which one is better? Well, I'm going to give this one to Daxter, mainly because Daxter's plot had a much darker theme but still kept it fresh as you go along. Plus, having it take place between the events of the first and second game is an interesting idea. Secret Agent Clank's plot isn't bad, but it didn't have that much atmosphere as Daxter's plot in my opinion. So point 1 goes for Daxter. Okay, now we're at designs. Both games do a decent job pulling off the PSP's graphical capabilities. However, since Daxter is set in Haven City once again, the designs feel the same as the ones in Jak 2 and Jak 3. This isn't a bad thing by any means, but the designs sort of feel outdated. The game still has its own designs later on, but for the most part the designs feel more or less the same as Jak 2 and Jak 3, even on the PSP. Secret Agent Clank's designs do have similar themed levels to Ratchet and Clank's Eyes Matters, which was also made by High Impact Games, but it does have colourful environments, and sometimes the backgrounds are given detail like the snow outside the windows. However, some of the character models are a little crispy in the gameplay, but I have to say Secret Agent Clank wins here. Whilst Daxter did have some dark levels, the designs feel exactly the same as they were in the second and third game, but Secret Agent Clank offers good use of colours in its designs and detailed backgrounds. Point 2 for Secret Agent Clank. And now we have music. Daxter's music has normal and beaty music for its levels. Secret Agent Clank has some spy and stealthy music for its levels.
Check it out.
So which is better? Well, I'm gonna give this one to Secret Agent Clank again. Daxter's music, I regret to say, was kinda bland and dull for me, and it was nowhere near as epic as the music in the first 3 games, though it still fits the levels of the game fine. Secret Agent Clank's music isn't much memorable either, but it has catchy spy tunes that do fit the atmosphere of the game correctly. But one thing I have to ask, did they have to make Captain Quark sing?
Let me tell you how it all went down. I was hired to save this little town. They were one of great might. So for Offie, I put up a big fight.
Okay, he's not that bad, but he could do better. So anyway, another point for Secret Agent Clank. Now we're on to boss battles. Well, this is where I think both games fall flat. Both the Jak and Ratchet franchises have had some memorable boss fights, however these two games don't have much boss fights. Daxter's boss fights have you fighting giant bug-like creatures, and Secret Agent Clank's boss fights have you fighting 3 henchmen and the villain of the game at the end. But if I had to choose, it would be Daxter. I think the bosses in this game were more reminiscent to the Jak franchise than Secret Agent Clank was for the Ratchet franchise. Also, the final boss in Daxter was probably a better way to finish off the game and conclude the Meeple story in Daxter. So, still, even so, both games suffer from having poor watered and forgettable boss fights, so moving on. Now we're into the final round, gameplay. Daxter's gameplay, in my opinion, dominates his gameplay from Jak 2 and Jak 3, because in those games, they made Daxter's gameplay a cardboard cutout of Jak's, and having one of the weakest double jump mechanics out there. Daxter is now equipped with an electronic bug swatter, which acts as a melee weapon, and an extermination tank, which sprays bug spray to stun enemies. As the game progresses, Daxter earns new modifications to his tank, which gives him the ability to use it as a flamethrower. The flamethrower ability also helps Daxter to hover in midair for a short period of time, but longer if he collects more bug spray. Another ability is the ultrasonic attachment. This gives Daxter the ability to launch blue grenades, which causes high radial explosions. The only downfall with this attachment is that it takes too much of your bug spray meter. One new ability for Daxter is that by pressing the triangle button, he can crawl through smaller spaces. Another new feature are the dream sequences. These are small mini-games that puts Daxter in a parody of memorable movies like The Matrix, Braveheart and Lord of the Rings. Completing these mini-games will either level up your health bar or give you new fighting abilities. The game keeps the same collectibles from the last 3 games like the precursor orbs, but also adds a new collectible, the golden bug gems, which can be obtained by smashing bugs. Overall, this is what Daxter's gameplay should all be about, and if Naughty Dog ever makes a Jak 4, that is, if they ever do, I strongly recommend them to improve Daxter's gameplay by giving him features like this. Now we move on to Secret Agent Clank's gameplay. Clank's gameplay in this game, to be honest, is more of a surprise. Clank's gameplay is now more similar to playing Ratchet's. Unlike before, where he had puzzles to solve and robots to control, he now has a decent selection of weapons and gadgets. Most of the weapons are pretty basic, but the gadgets on the other hand are more part of the spy concept, and they are used to either block lasers with an ink pen, or using a spy camera to capture someone's motion, and then going into disguise. There are times when you'll need to follow a certain suspect, and you'll go into disguise to avoid being detected. The game also did remind me of Sly Cooper, with its stealth elements like sneak attack on enemies and stealthy action. There are times when you'll need to do some rhythm gameplay in cases like the high security lasers, dancing and poker. And the good thing is, none of it feels repetitive, though I'm not really a big fan of rhythm gameplay, so I did have trouble messing these up. The game, however, also doesn't let you play as just Clank, but also let you play as Ratchet in Gladiator boss fights. But these are probably the weakest Gladiator fights in the Ratchet and Clank series. Even A Crack in Times was more epic than this, and you'll also get to play as Quark, who surprisingly is pretty addicting if you're a third-person shooter fanatic. Even though this game is not the best Ratchet and Clank spin-off I've played, it was brilliant fan service to those who like the Secret Agent Clank concept from Up Your Arsenal. So overall, Secret Agent Clank did offer more than Daxter, but when it comes to features like the rhythm gameplay and the underwhelming gladiator fights, less variety is sometimes a better idea. Plus, I like how they improved Daxter's gameplay and gave him his own abilities, whilst Clank's gameplay, while it wasn't a bad thing, it just feels more or less the same a cardboard cutout of Ratchet's. And for that reason alone, Daxter is a little bit more superior to Secret Agent Clank. So the winner is Daxter. Well, that wraps up another video game battle, folks. Hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.